David here with Figboot on Pens, back again with another fountain pen review. Over the last few months, I have reviewed a couple of different offerings from the Chinese brand Asvine. The lesser expensive Chinese-made brands like Asvine have really stepped up their game over the last couple of years. And I've really been impressed with some of the models of theirs that I have tested out. I felt that they are decent pens at a very reasonable price. So which of their pens will I be going over today? That would be the V126. What I am going to do today is go over the parts and features of the V126, talk about what I care for and what I don't care for about it. I'll show some measurements, size comparisons, and provide a writing sample. Thanks go out to the good folks at Asvine for providing this pen for review. It arrives in this box. The sleeve slides off, and inside we have a little plastic box, and inside the case we have an instruction manual, and then we have something nice that I mentioned during the last review of an Asvine pen, which is they include a little tool here that can be used to disassemble the piston on this pen. What I think is really nice about this tool is that it is made to handle different sizes, which are used by different manufacturers. So you could use this tool on more than just your pen. And I think it's nice that they provide you with a tool that you can use on other pens in your collection as well. The V126 is available in 6 different colors. There is frosted black, frosted blue, frosted clear, transparent teal, transparent brown, and finally transparent clear. And the one I have to share with you today is the transparent teal. I will say, in hindsight, I might have chosen poorly when telling Asvine which model to review. Now, there's nothing wrong with this transparent teal. I think it looks nice. But in taking a look at the second look at the frosted black model, that one looks really, really sharp. Pen regrets, we all have a few. But like I said, I still think this teal model looks nice. Now, a slight nit to pick right off the bat. While the name of this pen and the others is transparent, the resin used in these models is actually translucent. When a material is translucent, you can see through it, but it's obscured, typically by a color. If it is transparent, the material is like completely clear to see through and colorless. And then if it is opaque, then you can't see through it at all. So of the 3 models with transparent in their name, only the transparent clear would be named correctly. Although calling it transparent clear is a bit redundant. Okay, that is enough word facts for one review. Let's take a look at this pen. It does have gold-colored trim. Overall, it does bear some resemblance to the venerable Pilot 823. I'll show the 2 pens side by side during the size comparisons, but while there is a resemblance, I feel that there are enough differences for me to categorize this pen as something which was inspired by the 823 rather than something which is attempting to be a clone. Let's go ahead and start by taking a look at the top of the cap. It is rounded. And then it transitions into a rounded clip band. The clip is very similar in style to what is found on most Pilot pens, but it is slightly longer than what you'll find on the 823. The cap angles up until about 1 inch remains where it straightens out. Now, one of my pen pet peeves is a cap where you can see the nib, but it is not aligned with the clip. My personal preference in that relation to the clip is that the nib should either be facing straight up or straight down. Now, I realize that there might be multiple threads on a cap, so there could be multiple potential orientations, but in my mind, at least one should align. I mentioned this previously in a review, and multiple commenters claimed that maybe the nib was aligned on their pens so that it was upright when the pen was lying down. Now, it might do that by chance on a pen in your possession, but I highly doubt that that was the intention. Okay, I'm done ranting about nib orientation for a while. Well, maybe. At the end of the cap, there is a band stamped with the company name on one side and the model of this pen, V126, on the other. For Asvine pens, the nomenclature of the pen name informs you of the filling system. If the name begins with a V, like this pen, it is a vacuum filler, and if it begins with a P, then it is a piston filler. I haven't seen any Asvine models with a converter. If they do ever have those, maybe those will begin with the letter C. Who knows? After the cap, there is a small step down to the barrel. The barrel is straight for about 1.5 inches or so before tapering down. At the end of the pen, there is a thin gold band signifying the beginning of that piston knob, which on the end is rounded. This is a vacuum filler. The translucent barrel gives you a really good look at your ink situation. When you unscrew the piston and pull it back a little bit, there is a little play in the tip. You can hear that here. There's a bit more of a rattle than I would like. It is secure though. I just don't like it when it rattles that much. As a comparison, the 823 has a very slight play on that piece. Now the cap twists off with 1.5 rotations, and underneath we have a number 6 stainless steel nib. The nib is stamped with the company name as well as the tipping size. You can see that this nib is a medium. This nib is available in either extra fine, fine, or medium. And here's a look at the plastic feed. The section begins with a rounded raised edge before angling up into a gold band, and then the resin threads and a very small step up to the remainder of the barrel. This section is a decent length. The threads are set far enough back that they don't hamper my grip, and if your grip should come in contact with them, they're smooth enough where I don't feel they cause any issue. The pen is long enough to use unposted. It is fairly light. Now, when it's inked up, it'll add a small amount of weight. The cap does post. It posts securely, and the edge of the cap is smooth enough that if it should rub against your hand, it won't cause any discomfort. And I don't feel that it backweights the pen or throws off the balance. So if you'd like to use this pen posted, then this is a good pen to do so. As I have mentioned a couple of times, this is a vacuum filler. I think vacuum fillers might be my favorite filling system. They're really fun to use, and the ink capacity is typically very high. You push this down, and then there's this familiar click. When you put that in the ink bottle, then it sucks everything up. The Asvine V126 is available on Amazon. I will put a link to where you can find this specific pen in the notes below, and it is priced at a very reasonable $26.99. I find that to be an excellent price for this pen. I think that the next time I do a top 10 pens for beginner video, you just might see an Asvine or two make the list. They are doing a very good job of producing a quality pen for a very reasonable price. And you will see here in the writing sample, the performance is nice as well. Okay, now it is time for some measurements, size comparisons, and that writing sample. Here we go with some size comparisons for the Asvine V126. To begin with, I wanted to show what a Pilot 823 looks like in comparison. And just some of the differences. It is a little bit different in length. The tips are, I'd say, a different amount of taper on those. The clip is a little bit longer. The band is a little bit different. The section's different as well. So as I mentioned, that I clearly think it's something inspired by the 823, but it's not so much of a copy that they're trying to make it a clone. In regard to a couple of other pilots, this is what it looks like with a vanishing point. And then finally, a pen that I haven't used in a while that I think needs to get some loves because it's a really good pen, which is the Pilot Pereira. I haven't used my Pereira in a while. I think I might need to use it next week or something like that because it's a really great little pocket pen. But that's what it looks like in comparison. In regard to some other Asvines, we have the P80, which I reviewed before, and then another one I reviewed, which was the P36. And then I have a third one, which I haven't reviewed yet. We'll see if I get around to this one, but this one is the P50 with some interesting resin there. In regard to some uncapped comparisons, here it is with the 823, and then here it is with the P36 from Asvine, and then here this one is with the P80. Here we go with the writing sample for the Asvine. And this is the V126, and this is a medium stainless steel nib. And the ink I'm using is a color that I thought matched this pen well, which was Colorverse Photon. This says turquoise, but it's almost more of a green blue than a blue green. And then this is what the color looks like, kind of a nice greenish blue. This is what it looks like in comparison to Monteverde's green, as well as Three Oysters Aqua green. This is what the Colorverse bottles look like. I always really like their unique shape. They have a large mouth, so you can get just about any pen in there. Plus, they make some very nice creative inks as well. And here we go with the rest of the writing sample. I will say this nib is very pleasant. You can get a bit of flex out of here. I would by no means call it a flex pen, but you can push it a little bit. I will say that the ink flow on this medium nib is rather generous, right there. And then in regard to some reverse writing, it's a little scratchy, but it does get the job done. And in regard to some fast writing, it lays down a nice heavy medium line. Except for it died right there at the end. Let's see. I wonder if that's because ink ran out, because with a piston filler, with a vacuum filler, there is ink here that's in the section, and sometimes you need to then crack it open in order to let it fill. And so I have a feeling that I ran out of ink. So it wasn't an issue with the feed, that I actually just ran out of ink because I was testing it and I didn't have this cracked. So let's see, if I just leave it uncracked for a second here, it should fill right back up. Let's see here. Oh, there it goes. So that was not an issue with the nib. That was an issue where I actually ran out of ink in the section because I didn't have it cracked and I was doing some testing on it. So the feed keeps up just fine. So let me go ahead and close this. And you know what? You see, this is the problem. If you open it up, you got to make sure that when you close it, you do so carefully, because I just got ink all over my fingers. Again, that was not the pen's fault. That was my fault. Let's see here. Let's at least wipe this down. And now the conclusion of this video will have my hand looking rather turquoise-ish or green. But right there we have the Asvine V126. As I mentioned, that I have been very impressed with the Asvine pens. For the price, it's really hard to beat them at this price range because it's a decent quality pen, it's well made, and it performs nicely as well. So if you're looking to get into pens in the lower price range, it's hard to go wrong with one of these pens. They do a very good job. So until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.